It's a Dog's Life with Angela Ardolino.
Hernando, Umana.
And I'm
And,
Carter Easler.
and we have Carter joining us.
Hi.
And we're going to take these little episodes at least once a month to kind of touch base, since we just came off of our Healing Naturally tour, and there's so much going on in this industry every single day, every single week, that I think it's fun to touch base and let everyone know what it's like in our world and what's going on and what we constantly are having to deal with.
Totally.
So yeah, I kind of wanted to do like a little, how you guys feel now that you're back home.
It's nice to not be in an RV for a minute, but
Yes.
I do miss the experience of talking to all these people that we got to speak to, and really like out with a mission was super, super cool. So I do miss that community for sure.
It is kind of cool also to like come back and like bring all the treasure that we got over there and kind of bring it back to the people here and be like, look what we learned, look who we talked to.
Right. Slowly but surely, we're going to go through everything that we recorded and get it up and share it with everybody and share it with our listeners, which we're going to put all that up on our YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, our YouTube channel is about to grow. If you guys are listening, check out our YouTube. Every week we'll be doing some new education content, whether it's stuff that we've done with other veterinarians or stuff that Carter and I are talking about that's going on in the news now, how to read a COA. A lot of really cool things are coming. So stay tuned. YouTube, CBD Dog Health.
We're also going to finally share some of these podcasts, which we have video versions of all of them in case you wanted to see any of the people that you're listening to.
Yeah, so Dr. Bob Goldstein, Julianne Lee, Dee Blanco, all of these people that you guys love who give some amazing information. We'll have some great video content to go along with it as well.
Yep, that would be awesome. So I was thinking about our tour, and I hadn't had a day off since I got back, and I took a day off and I was reflecting on everything. I think I was watching a TV show or something and saw people, taking an RV somewhere, and I was like, oh. Reminiscing about it, I was ready to come home, as you know, but reminiscing about it was a really cool experience, and I look forward to when we do another one. Maybe not as long, but still when we do another one.
Absolutely.
I think it's refreshing, especially after, some of the shit we went through today. I think it's refreshing because we got to talk to like-minded people who understand cannabis medicine, who are using it on a regular basis. So we are confirmed when we hear stupid reports come out saying CBD killed my dog or killed your dog or is killing dogs, that we know that it's complete bullshit, and that it's, what people don't understand is that the pharmaceutical kind of companies are going to react. People who don't want this to happen are going to react. And the sad fact is that because it's unregulated, people are making products that are not safe for pets.
Yeah.
Right.
So all we can say for sure is and what we're talking about is a news story that came out about a woman's dog who allegedly died after eating.
Well, let's clear that up right away on this allegedly dying. First of all, it did not die of any cannabis use. The vet euthanized it, number one.
Yeah.
Number two is a 5 milligram CBD treat. We've seen thousands and thousands of milligrams of both CBD and THC being put into dogs, and they cannot have not died. So that's bullshit. And then Carter and I went through the website and did a little digging of the company, and their COAs didn't tell us anything more than their cannabinoid profile.
Yeah,
so we don't know
they didn't
what the heck
test
was
for
in the
heavy
treats.
metals, for pesticides. It could have had E. coli or salmonella, all these different pathogens in it, and none of that was tested for.
And there was no toxologist, so we have no idea.
They didn't file a toxicology report after this, so they're just going, these veterinarians who, frankly don't know anything about cannabis, obviously, because they said that a dog died of CBD overdose, which is impossible. They don't know, and they didn't do the testing that was necessary to figure out what it was. So quite honestly, it's just negligent reporting for them to say that it was an overdose.
Carter, tell them about that 1970s
Yeah, so there's this institute that did a study in 1973, Rosencrantz, that studied up to 9,000 milligrams in a single dose of THC to try and find a lethal dose. LD50 is kind of the phrase that they use in science to find this lethal dose, and they couldn't find it for THC, which is a little bit more of an impactful compound than CBD in terms of the physical reactions that these dogs have. And they're sorry, I've got sirens outside my window. But they've also done a lot of different studies with CBD, even up to 70 milligrams per kilogram. So they're getting hundreds of milligrams of CBD with a lot of different animals, and none of them had adverse effects to it. So to have a 5 milligram treat blamed for this dog's death it's just inconceivable.
Well, we can say that the 5 milligrams of CBD is inconceivable. What we can't say is what else was in the treat.
Right. And or what else was wrong with the dog. And, like you said, the dog was euthanized. It was not, we don't even know.
Yeah.
And they leave that out to the very end of the blog or article in tiny little letters. By the way, it was euthanized and did not die of an overdose of cannabis.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just the propaganda is unbelievable there.
And you also have to understand that there are this is the wild, wild west, and a lot of the behavior in the human side of this industry is bleeding over now to the pet side of the industry, which is competition. And if people think that you're competition, they're going to throw you under the bus. As we know, we just, we were just threatened by somebody and, who has a big voice out in this community. And we have already we've already had the Department of Agriculture visit us, and, we're ready. So we're not doing anything wrong. We do have a COA, a certificate of analysis. And those of you who don't know what that is, Carter has created a wonderful little video, which is easy to watch and kind of tell you what you're looking for. But Carter, tell us a little bit more about a COA, which this is what, no matter what CBD product you're buying, whether it's for yourself or for your pet, you must find the certificate of analysis by a third-party lab, either on their site or have easy access to it. And this is what's going to tell you what's in that bottle and what's not in that bottle.
Well,
what are they looking for on it?
I'm gonna make you guys wait, and you're gonna have to find out after the break.
Good one, Hernando. All right, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to It's a Dog's Life. Today we have Angela Ardolino, myself, and Carter Easler, and we were just talking a little bit about certificate of analysis, which is the only way to regulate in this unregulated field. And unfortunately, it's really confusing, and Carter has gotten really good at breaking it down for us. So tell us about it.
Yeah, so we released a video on Friday that really just kind of goes to break down for retailers, for consumers, for anybody who has never read a scientific lab report, which I think is most of us. We brought up a big image of it, and we show you kind of what you can look for that's consistent with all these different labs that will basically tell you whether you're working with a reputable company or one that you should not have. And honestly, like, even if they just the sheer fact of them having a COA is kind of like the first hurdle of whether you can trust a company. Because that cuts the fat of a lot of different cannabis companies not only cannabis, but, as a side note, you can also check this for different essential oil companies because cannabis is essentially an essential oil. But this is what will allow you to just know that what they say about the product is indeed what's in the bottle. It's kind of an essential thing to do in this industry that is not regulated from the outside. It is self-regulated.
So what should they be looking for?
Basically, and check out our video on YouTube or on Facebook or Instagram, how to read a COA. What what we tell you is basically, number one, you want to see which cannabinoids are in it. So cannabinoids are THC and CBD, but there's over 114 different cannabinoids. And it'll show you exactly how many, like how much, what percentage of each of those is in there.
And you want to make sure that at least that 0.3% of THC is in the product to make it a full spectrum product, which research has shown over and over again is the most effective way to get the medicine.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like one of the things that we talk about in the video is like, there are companies that will say full spectrum hemp extract. And then, you know, you do the due diligence of looking at their certificate of analysis and you find that they report no THC. So there, you know, like I was saying, it's one kind of step that you go to find companies that produce a COA, but you still have to go and look because some of them, you know, they make contrary claims. You know, some of them came into the industry and came in as a broad spectrum or an isolate before people really got on board and sort of realized that full spectrum is the only way to go. And so now they're trying to like play catch up and they're changing their labels without changing actually their product.
Well, and there's other reasons for that also, which is restrictions of what we can and can't say on the label has changed so many times. Right. You know, even us, we have reprinted labels so many times and, you know, still have labels out there that are probably incorrect because of people coming up with regulations. So we follow what the hemp industry is doing, and the hemp industry and the Department of Agriculture and what the United States government says is what we follow. But we even know there's other organizations out there that think they know better and say what people can and can't put on their labels, and they don't know better. So even when there's a good company out there trying to do the right thing, you know, it's still really difficult. So it's difficult to separate those with good intentions and those who are just trying to put a marketing claim out there to sell a product.
Yep.
Right.
So one of the things that CBD Dog Health does is that we put our QR code right on our labels so that you can take a picture of it with your phone and go directly to the COA of which this was made so that you can see it. If you go to a website and you can't find this COA, they have something to hide. Yep. And the next, I'm going to call it now, but the next thing that's going to happen is that COAs are going to be forged. The next thing we're going to see is A,
B, C, D, E,
I, O. A is, it's so funny, it's a joke of ours, so we like skip the alphabet or go A, 2. A is people forging their lab certificates. I know one of the biggest human cannabis companies has their own lab in-house. How convenient is that?
Yeah, right.
Or we're going to see what we just learned in California, where people are taking isolates of other cannabinoids and putting them in, and then doing a lab report and showing, you know, huge amounts of other cannabinoids all at once, which is when you, again, do the math. I ain't good at math. That is not my strong point. But when you do the math, you go, wait a minute, how is this a full spectrum product and it has 99% CBD? Well, that's a red flag that this is an added isolate and that it's probably not. So even a full spectrum product they're messing with now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense. So, you know, it's going to be, it's a lot of work, but until we regulate it, we're going to have to educate ourselves. We're going to have to find the brands that we trust.
And that's something to be noted, is that there are a handful, not many, but there are a handful of other brands who are also doing it correctly.
Yeah.
And
there's probably a lot more than that. They're just smaller and, you know, in a state where it's legal for them to grow and create it right there. We just don't know about it. But yeah, it's the wild, wild west, and anybody can do or say anything.
It just makes you so mad because this isn't a treat. This isn't a leash. This is medicine. Right. This is something that's stopping seizures and you know, getting rid of some crazy pain and helping dogs with cancer. And it upsets me how people can do that and then live with it morally. And then we have to answer the question, why doesn't CBD work for my pet? Well, let me read the label. This is why,
Right.
this is why, this is why, this is why. And we have the opportunity to create a brand new industry that should have been done a long time ago. We have the opportunity to do it with integrity and doing it correctly and not the way everything else has been done. And I think if we continue this way, the way people are doing it, we're going to be left with shit. So we have to band together with the people who are doing it right.
Right.
Yeah.
And people are accusing us of being the one that is messing up the industry and the regulatory process. But
we've been so like quiet about that. Basically, people are upset that we are talking about dosing according to an ailment in a specific animal rather than weight. And the one thing I want to say to you is that a small dog with cancer needs a lot more than a big dog with anxiety. And that's facts. That is proven in research, has nothing to do with their weight.
Everything we say is based on what I learned at the University of Vermont School of Medicine's program in medical cannabis. I learned about the biology of the plant, and I learned about how we can use that for therapeutic purposes.
Right.
That's what I learned, which very few people do that and then go into the pet industry. And then not only that, we worked, I have treated hundreds of dogs. And not only that, we work with some of the country's leading cannabis holistic vets that we have met with and talked and interviewed with. So this isn't just something that we have pulled out of the air. Dr. Gary Richter has said dosing by ailment, not by weight. It makes sense. We do that in the human side. So to say that it'll be easy for us to get regulation passed if we just do a dose by weight is ridiculous.
It shouldn't be about easy.
It's something that like this is a new industry, and so it will continue to evolve and grow. And if we're gonna stick to what we knew before, we won't be in step with what is actually real. Like CBD Dog Health used to dose by weight. We have old labels probably somewhere that's still dosed by weight, but we changed it because what we learned through talking to experts, through application, through what the response was from the people who were using this every day, is that that's not how it works.
Right.
And quite honestly, that is perfectly in step with everything that we know about whole plant medicine and holistic healing. People want this like Western single target approach, but this is polypharmacy. This is whole plant medicine. It is not the same. And I'm sorry that people don't want to change and evolve with the industry, but it's moving on whether you join us or not.
That's
when you know better, you do better.
Right. And because we know everything that's going on in the human side and we're familiar with the industry itself, we don't pay attention to the people in the pet industry who think they've made themselves experts and are working against us, which makes no sense whatsoever. But it's nuts. And those of us who do follow us know that our intent is to help as many dogs as possible heal naturally.
Animals, cats, horses, goats, everything.
Animals. And it works. Everything we say works for humans too. But that is our intent. And, it's that's why we take the time to do this podcast and make the videos and educate and travel the country, is to let people know and let them know what the truth is. And everything is based, that we say, off science, off research, off vets, holistic vets that have been practicing for over 20 years, oncologists, pet, dog, canine, pet. I guess she's an animal oncologist who's been using the medicine. It's her first go-to in her toolbox when she gets a dog with cancer. So we're not making up this stuff. We're just based on science and research and what has been proven to work already. And every time we get a piece of that information, we're going to come out and tell everybody about it. Whether people try to shut us up or not, we're going to tell you.
And I think what you said, Angie, about intent is so important because, it shows in what people are doing. And unfortunately, some people can't pick up on it. But like when, when people create this like fear about like when Forbes released that article that was saying that like CBD causes liver damage because of this thing that the FDA had released saying that, and then what they don't tell you is that it's about Epidiolex, the synthetic version of CBD at enormous doses. So it's not what they're saying it is, but they're capitalizing on people's fear just so that they can get their story out there. It's the same thing about this, this 5 milligram treat that, they have this woman who is rightfully distressed, who has been told by 2 different veterinarians that her dog was killed by the CBD, and she's in tears, and they put this on TV because people respond to these negative emotions and it boosts their ratings. But if you look at their intent, it's not like they're not trying to help anybody. They're trying to get ratings.
All right, we're gonna have to take a quick break and we will be right back. Welcome back to It's a Dog's Life. Speaking of fear, it is, what is today's date? Friday.
The 13th!
The 13th.
Is it really?
God.
And he's got black cats behind him.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
It's Friday the 13th, and we are...
Carter, don't leave the house. Do not get yourself cannabis.
I can't. I'm
And
do
do not leave the house.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, it is Friday the 13th, and we are dealing with the coronavirus. Carter and I are in New York City, Carter in Brooklyn, me in Manhattan, and it's a quiet,
I sneezed yesterday,
city.
so I'm not going anywhere.
It sounds like a perfect reason not to leave the house. Why? So what is it like there in New York City?
Quiet.
I know they shut down Broadway.
Yeah,
I was on the subway yesterday, and there were 400 people in this one little car. It was crazy. Maybe it's changed since then.
It is because things are closing. Yesterday, Broadway closed. Anything with 500 seats or more is done. Restaurants are starting to close. Some gyms are closing, and I think there's going to be a few days of self-quarantine and everything closed. Which brings me to what's so important. We now know dogs cannot get the coronavirus, but we do have to think about them. And I'm going to read something here that somebody we love named Rodney Habib said. The question was, what should we be doing right now to protect our pets? And Rodney said, it's important to include pets in your family's planning. If you get sick and are quarantined, you should make sure you have extra pet food on hand, and you should make sure your neighbors and friends are aware of any feeding, walking, or medications that your pets need in case you can't make it back home. Get prepared now. And that's actually from a UPenn School of Vet Med that Rodney referred to. And I think that's super important. We're all buying toilet paper for ourselves.
All the toilet paper.
And wipes. But what happens if everything's closed down and you can't get your dog's food? Make sure you're prepared. What happens if you can't get that CBD that you need for your dog? Make sure you get it now. Stock up for your pet just the way you're doing for yourself.
Yeah, it's crazy. We don't know how people are going to react or what they're going to do. But the biggest threat to dogs is being out with your dog and someone who is sick, getting the germs on your dog and your dog bringing it home. So keeping your dog home is pretty important also, and keeping them clean and keeping
don't go to the dog park. Because if your dog is playing with a dog whose family, it can jump from dog to person.
Right. So go to your groomer and get your dog a good bath and come home and keep everybody clean and safe. But yeah, it's important to have the supplies and have plenty of fresh water and stay in when you can and don't go out if you don't need to. Here is spring break and we are, we're about to fill up with boarding and people's cruises are being canceled and, plans are being canceled left and right. So it's crazy here too. I've never experienced anything like this before. But it's interesting, how bad information can get out there, but we do know dogs cannot get it, meaning they can't get it and spread it. The only way they could spread it is if a sick person got their germs on your dog and then your dog came into your home and you touched your dog. So keep everyone clean. Wash your hands. Don't take any chances.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. All right.
Wash your hands. Wash your dog.
That's right. Wash your dog. Wash your cat.
Well, we're seriously sending love out to everyone. We hope everyone is safe. and taking care of themselves and taking care of their pets. We are here if you guys need anything, if you guys need to ask us any questions, if there's any concerns, cbddoghealth.com. You can email us at info@cbddoghealth.com, on Instagram, on Facebook, wherever we can to help. I know this is kind of a scary time, and we're here to help as much as we can.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.